A while back I did a video on Xen Orchestra, which was something that would allow you to manage your virtual machines on your XCP NG server or your Xen server. One of the things that I also used it for was doing backups. But I've got quite an older version now. I haven't updated it. So I want to go through the process of exporting the configuration on my existing Xen Orchestra and importing that into the latest release. One of the things that I do is I have a backup that runs to my network attached storage. So I have a folder here called backup, then I have another folder specifically for the Xen Orchestra backups. And each one of the backups goes into its own folder. And these XVA files are the actual backup files. This is the older version of Xen Orchestra that is still pointing to my XCP-NG server that's running 7.6. If I were to click on one of these, I get a UUID, which is an identifier for this VM. You see this one ends in 3791. So when I find the folder that ends in 3791, which is here, that is the backup for that virtual machine. Now if you look on the version that I installed years ago, under About here, you can see it lists specific versions for the XO server and the XO web. If you look at the current version, this one is the current version under the About. It lists the commit version from Git for each one of these. So the version that I have is pretty old. So what I want to do is follow the instructions here to get a new Xen Orchestra built, and then I'm going to take the actual config that's on my old version and I'm going to put it on the new version. Now Xen Orchestra comes in some pre-built versions, but I like to build the one from source because I like to tinker with things. If you go under, I believe it's support. No, it's not support. It's actual Xen Orchestra and installation. There's all kinds of information about registering and installing, getting the trial version. But if you scroll down here where it says sources, you can install it from source. The only thing is you don't get any type of support. So if you have a problem with it, they won't support it. But if you just want to get into figure out how to use it and how things work, this is a good way to start. One of the things that they require is that they installed it on a version of Debian 12, which is the Bookworm version. So I did a fresh install of Debian 12, and I put it on to a different VBM. I'm sorry, a different virtual machine running KVM. So let me get on that box. So if you look at this machine, I'm running Debian 12 Bookworm. And I did the net installation, so it's got all the latest patches and updates on it. So we're just going to follow the instructions here. I'm going to move this over so you can see it. One of the first requirements is that you have Node.js. And it says if you don't have Node.js installed, you click on this link for installation, for instructions on how to install it. So I'm just going to follow the instructions here. The previous time I did this installation, there were several steps in the instructions. They've cut it down quite a bit, and it seems to work a lot better. So let's get Node.js installed. I'm going to just open this in a new tab so I don't lose my spot. And let's see what it says to do here. Alright, it says to install NVM first. I did this before, and curl is not pre-installed on a base Debian build. It finds it now, and I want to install curl. And I could have done a -y to make it default to yes. But we're going to just follow the instructions here and install NVM. So we're going to copy this command right here. And that's not what I want. I'm running within a, what is this? Oh, I know what it is. I gotta right click and paste. And that does a curl and it gets what it needs. I had some problems with my VM. I fixed those problems. It was the DH client resetting my DNS server. So I'm going to run NVM install. NVM install 22. And it does some things, and it says is it installed 22.14. It says if I run node-v, should come back with that version. And if I want to see what the current version is, I could run the NVM current. And that is the current version. It says verify my NPM version. I don't know, npm-v, which matches the 10.9.2 there. So that gets the latest version of Node.js installed. The next option is to install Yarn. We want to go to this page. It says to run this command, npm install global yarn. So we'll just paste that in and let it go. I get a message here that there's a version of npm which is 11.2. I will go ahead and install that. So let's copy that. Alright, it says blah blah blah. It says it installed. Run yarn -- version to see what version you have. Alright, and we're at 1.2.22 for the version of Yarn. Alright, the next is the packages that are needed by Xen Orchestra. And if you look right here, there's a little icon. It's a double. It lets you copy, so you don't have to highlight everything. You just copy it there. I'm going to clear the screen here so we can start new. And we're going to paste that in. And you see it's installing the CIFS utils. That'll let you do the Samba mounts. The NFS common, that'll let you do NFS mounts. So we'll hit enter there. And we could have done a -Y and have it default. We'll let that go through and install. Alright, installing the packages that it needed has completed. We're going to continue on with our instructions here. It says to make sure Redis is running, REDIS. I'm going to do a status on it. Alright, it says it's loaded and active and running here. Now this is the part where you actually download and install the Xen Orchestra. I'm going to take this command. Again, here's the double pages here. That's the copy. I'm going to run that command. The git command is going to make a copy of their source code from their Git repository. And it's done that fast. And you see it creates a directory called Xen Orchestra. I was going to put it in that build directory, but I changed my mind. I just leave it in Xen Orchestra. It says to cd into Xen Orchestra. It says to run the yarn command, YARN, by itself. And that's going to go through and do whatever it needs to do to get Xen Orchestra installed. You might see some messages here. If it says warning, that should be fine. If it says error or something like that, it may stop the actual process and you'll have to figure out what the error is. But I've done this twice before and I didn't get any error. I received a few warnings, but nothing that actually stopped the installation. Going to take this command. Again, here's the double pages here. That's the copy. Going to run that command. The git command is going to make a copy of their source code from their Git repository. And it's done that fast. And you see it creates a directory called Xen Orchestra. I was going to put it in that build directory, but I changed my mind. I just leave it in Xen Orchestra. It says to cd into Xen Orchestra. It says to run the yarn command, YARN, by itself. And that's going to go through and do whatever it needs to do to get Xen Orchestra installed. You might see some messages here. If it says warning, that should be fine. If it says error or something like that, it may stop the actual process and you'll have to figure out what the error is. But I've done this twice before and I didn't get any error. I received a few warnings, but nothing that actually stopped the installation. Alright, that part of the install completed in 85.85 seconds. Go on to the next command that says yarn build. Alright, the yarn build completed in a minute and 4 seconds. We'll continue to follow the instructions here. It says you have to create a config file for XO server. So we'll cd packages. Okay, following the instructions, I seem to have run into an error. And it looks like this is the problem right here. It says to copy the config.toml file if you're going to run it as a global service. But when I did that, it did not work at all. So I'm going to go back up a step and do this. Because you have these files, you have the sample config here, and you have the config here. So I'm going to copy the sample config over to the root home directory. Then run the yarn start. And I noticed right away there's some more things scrolling on the screen here. So when I go into my browser, is it 192? 7242. It's cached my login, so let me log out and show you what it should look like. It should come up with this first screen, and it's got the little icon here and welcome to Xen Orchestra. The default login is admin@admin.net. The password is admin by default. And it opens up and you're in the new version of the Xen server. Now, since I'm using the source code, I will get this message about the version is not bundled with any support or updates. But that's fine because I'm just using it to learn how it works in my lab here. So I can just ignore that. You can look at the about to see the version. And it tells me my Xen Orchestra is up to date. Whereas remember on the other one here, this is one I installed yesterday. There have been some updates to it with Git. And the one that I installed just yesterday is missing 2 commits. But the one I just installed says it's at the current version. Alright, so we got it running on a new VM. So we want to take the config from our old version. Here's our old version. The 5.53. Where is it here? It's under something. Settings and config. And you go download the current config. You see it pops up here. I'm going to hit that little folder. I'm going to rename that so that I know what version it is. I just put today's date on it, which is 03/21. And I'm going to rename it. So this file is in my downloads folder. I'm going to go back to my newly installed VM where everything is up to date. I'm going to go to settings. I'm going to go to xo-config. And I'm going to go to import. Now you can drop a file on there or you can copy it in. Let's see if I can drop a file on there. Alright, there's the file that I want. I'm going to just drag it and drop it there. Give it a second, and it says right here, that's the file that it has, and you have to hit import here. Now, if I would have put a password on that config file, I'd have to type it in here. But since I didn't, I'll just hit OK. It takes me out to the login screen. Now, if I try to log in with the default password, admin is 4 letters. Says invalid credentials. That's because it imported my configuration with the password. And just a word of warning, that configuration file has your password in clear text, so you want to make sure you keep that in a secure location. So I'm going to go in as admin at admin.net. And I'm going to go in with my old password on my old server. I'm going to sign in with that password. I'm going to say yes, go ahead and save my password. One thing to look at under home, look at your VMs. And there are the VMs. It's actually connecting to the same host that my old one is connecting to. It says click for more information. Gives me some information that my TLS key is too small to upgrade to 8.3. I won't worry about that right now because I'm not doing an upgrade. If I go down to, what was it, look under settings and remotes, and I'll hit test here. It says something, let's go back to reload here. Doesn't like that. That's because it's not running over here. I need to connect to it first. Xen opt. Oh. We're to run yarn start. And you see the stuff scrolling across the screen. One thing I see that I didn't see before, you see it's listing on port 80 right there. Don't worry about the errors or anything. And let's reload that. There we go. So we look at that. We say test. It says the remote is working correctly. That's the only one I want to look at because that's the only one I have. I have that set up to go to my network attached storage, my NAS. So you can see that the config file brought over my backup settings. So if I go into backup and restore, you see it pulls this information from the share that I have. It doesn't store it within the program. It looks within the share to see what's available there. And you can see I have all of these available to restore. So if we continue on with the instructions here, well, there was one more thing. Look at your dashboard. Home, look at your VMs. You can see all your VMs are there. There's a filter for showing only running VMs. If I set that filter to none, I can see all the VMs that I have there. So I'm now on this new version of Xen Orchestra. I've got the basics of it running, but there's some more instruction there on how to get it running at startup. So we just ran the yarn start to make sure everything was working. Now it says to update the current version, and again, this is just with the open source source code version. These are the commands that you would run to update your Xen Orchestra. So we will copy that. And we don't need it running right now. I don't know if Nano is installed. Oh, it is. I'm just going to put those instructions on how to update so that I have them available. Control X to exit. Save it. And I'm going to continue on with instructions. There are instructions here on how to make it run all the time, which is what we want. It says you can use something called forever. That's part of this yarn application. So I'm going to follow the instructions there. And again, I'm still in the XO server directory. It says yarn global add forever. So I do that. And you get some warnings. Don't worry about the warnings. As long as you don't get an error, you should be okay. It says run the below as a user owning XO. That's the user called root, which is what I am. So I'm going to copy that. Get some error messages here. It says warning, blah blah blah, warning. Your script will exit if there's times that. It says you can use the forever to have the process always running. It says, or you can use forever service. So let's see if it's always running. Alright, so that forever command makes it run, and it's still running. Remember, I stopped it from running up here. So now it's currently running. So you have two options on how you want to run it there. You can either run it as this option, this command, this forever command, or you create a service. Future edit here. Here's an edit I'm going to do the systemd service install following these instructions. It says to create this file, which I will do. It says to put this information into it. Copy all that. I will have to change the path here because I have it in OPT. And there it is, so you can see all that. It's opt, Xen Orchestra, packages, blah, blah, blah. So I will copy that. Exit, save, yes, enter. It says reload the daemon to enable the service. So we will do a system c't. Well, let's make sure the file is there first. That's the file that it wants to run. And it says no file. That's because I'm on a different system. And it says opt build. So we got to make that opt build Xen Orchestra. Let's copy that again. And let's save it. Alright, so the file does exist. It wants to do a daemon reload. It wants to enable it now. This enables and starts it to, this enables the service and starts it right now. So we're going to do exo-server. So you should be able to do a systemctl status. Alright, it says failed to load. What if I stop it? And then do status. The last status is failed. What if I do a start? Status is still failed. So what if I run this command from the command line? And it's running user bin node in front of it. Okay, it looks like it only installed node for the root user, so it's in this full directory. So we would again have to modify our service. Gonna do that. Or you could create a symbolic link to node, but I won't do that. So we've modified the server, so we gotta stop. Gotta do a daemon reload. We gotta enable it and do a status. Alright, now it says it's running since it has the full path to node, which is here. So if we reboot this machine, and I'll go ahead and let it reboot. Here's the console for it. And the system is rebooted. Let's connect back to it. You do the status for the XO server, you see it's running at boot. So it'll run every time. You just need to keep track of where your node is installed because your system service makes a reference to it. Then what I want to do is I want to run a backup from this new version. Let's see if I have a small VM. Backup overview. Alright, I have this full right now, which is what I use to do a backup in real time. So let's see if I go here to modify the backup, I can get rid of these two. I can pick one that's small. Let's see. I don't think I have a small one. That jump box might be small. So I'll select that jump box that I want to back up, and it's backing it up to my QNAP. I'll hit save. And I want to tell that backup to run right now, so I'll hit that. It says it's going to back up one VM. It says that backup was successful. And if I want to see, let's see how you do that. Oh, you click on successful and you can see the results. And when it went to clean the VM directory, it had some errors, but it's something new in this new version. I don't know what it means exactly, but it did a full backup in about a minute. Let's see here. It says it's 2.52 gigs in size. When I go over to my back over to my NAS, see the latest XVA file is 2.52 gigs. No, that's from 3.1. It'll be a different one. This one right here, maybe 321 at 612. So yes, that's it. So that backup completed. Now I tried to do this a few months ago, but things weren't working quite the way they should. It looks like this latest version of the sources for Xen Orchestra will update pretty easily from your old version. So I've got the newest version of Xen Orchestra running. I've imported all my settings from my old config. I can manage and create my virtual machines and do backups of these virtual machines. There's some other options here that I don't use, that I haven't looked into yet. I may or may not look at those features in a newer version. So that was what I needed to do to install and update the Xen Orchestra. If you want to run it as a service, just follow the options down here to run it as a service. And please go back to the Xen Orchestra page and read up on their licensing and that type of information. There's several features that you can add to it that I don't need in my lab. You have the options to purchase a license. That license will give you all types of support. So thank you for watching this video on Xen Orchestra updating from a previous version.